Somewhere this month, roughly 7.5 million people are opening an email from their student loan servicer. And it starts with some version of the same sentence. Your repayment plan is ending. Not you missed a payment, not you're in trouble, just ending.
If you've never heard of SAVE or RAP or something called a tiered standard plan, and you have federal student loans, this is the video where we slow all of it down. No jargon dump, no doom. Just what actually changed on July 1st, 2026, and what you're supposed to do next.
Let's start with the part that's causing the most confusion, because the headlines make it sound like the whole federal student loan system got demolished.
It didn't. What ended is one specific plan, SAVE, the Saving on a Valuable Education Plan, which was rolled out a few years ago as an income-driven repayment option. SAVE is gone. It's no longer accepting new enrollments, and it's being phased out entirely. That change affects a lot of people.
On the order of 7.5 million borrowers were enrolled in SAVE. If you're one of them, your loan servicer is either about to notify you or already has. That notification is the thing to actually watch for. It'll usually come as an email or a message posted to your account on your servicer's website.
Here's the part worth sitting with for a second. This isn't a punishment, and it isn't personal. It's a policy change working its way through the system, and it's landing on millions of people at the same time. If you're feeling behind or confused, you're not behind.
You're just one of millions of people learning about this in the same week. Once you get that notification, you're generally given 90 days to pick a different repayment plan. 90 days sounds like a lot, until you're juggling work and rent and everything else.
So let's talk about what that window is actually for and what happens if it closes without you doing anything. If you don't select a new plan within that 90-day window, you don't lose your loan or default. You get automatically placed into either the standard plan or a new option called the tiered standard plan. Those aren't bad plans exactly, but they're generally structured around paying off your loan faster, on a fixed schedule. That usually means a higher monthly payment than what borrowers were used to under an income-driven plan, like SAVE.
So the actual task in front of you, if this applies to you, is simple to state, even if it takes a little homework to do. Read the notification when it arrives. Note the actual deadline date it gives you, and use that 90 days to compare your options, instead of letting the clock run out by default.
So what do you actually switch to? For a lot of borrowers, the answer is a brand new plan called the Repayment Assistance Plan, or RAP. It's the plan the Department of Education built specifically to take SAVE's place, and it works differently in a few important ways.
Like SAVE, RAP calculates your monthly payment based on your income and how many dependents you have, rather than a flat percentage of your loan balance. But RAP adds something SAVE didn't have in the same form, a built-in floor on progress.
If your calculated payment isn't enough to reduce your loan balance by at least $50 a month, a subsidy kicks in to make sure at least that much principal gets paid down anyway.
In plain terms, that's designed to stop a scenario a lot of borrowers dreaded under older plans, where your payment covered the interest but never actually touched the amount you owed, so the balance just sat there or grew. The trade-off is timing. RAP's forgiveness runway is 30 years of qualifying payments, which is longer than the 20 or 25 years borrowers may remember from older income-driven plans. So RAP isn't a strict upgrade or downgrade.
It's a different shape entirely, built around steadier long-term progress rather than a faster payoff clock. For anyone actually enrolled in loans and deciding the tween options, the Department of Education's own loan simulator on studentaid.gov is the tool built for this exact comparison.
It uses your real numbers instead of asking you to estimate it in your head. Now, everything so far has been about people already in repayment, but this law also reaches into how people borrow in the first place, and it does that in two specific ways.
First, the Grad Plus loan program, which let graduate and professional students borrow up to their full cost of attendance, has been eliminated for new borrowers, starting a program on or after July 1st, 2026. If you were already using Grad Plus before that date, there's generally a limited window, up to 3 more years, or until your program ends, to keep borrowing under the old rules. But brand new graduate and professional borrowers are now working within fixed federal loan caps instead.
Those caps are $20,500 a year and $100,000 lifetime for most graduate programs, with higher limits for certain professional programs like medicine or law.
Second, Parent Plus loans, which parents use to help pay for a child's undergraduate education, are no longer unlimited either. As of July 1st, 2026, they're capped at $20,000 per year per student, with a $65,000 lifetime limit.
Parents who already had a Parent Plus loan in place before that date generally get a few years of breathing room under the old uncapped terms. But new borrowers are working within these caps from the start.
What this means practically is that some families and students are going to hit a real gap between what school costs and what federal loans will cover. That pushes more of that gap towards scholarships, savings, or private loans. That's not a moral failing on anyone's part.
It's a structural shift in how much the federal government is willing to lend, and it's worth knowing about well before a tuition bill arrives. It's worth pausing on the bigger picture here, because this transition isn't happening in a vacuum.
Total U.S. student loan debt sits at roughly $1.66 trillion, and delinquency rates on those loans have been elevated. That's not a scare statistic, it's context. It explains why so much attention is on this transition, and why servicers are bracing for millions of borrowers making decisions at once. If you're in that crowd feeling like this is a lot to process, that reaction makes sense. It's a genuinely complex system going through a genuinely large change. Understanding it doesn't require you to become a policy expert. It just requires knowing which few facts actually apply to your situation.
So here's the practical version, stripped down to what actually matters. 1. If you're currently on Save, watch for your servicer's notice and write down the actual deadline it gives you. That 90-day window is the thing that matters, not the general July 1st date.
2. Before that deadline hits, use the official loan simulator at studentaid.gov to compare what your payment would actually look like under RAP versus the standard or tiered standard plans, using your real income and loan numbers.
3. If you're a graduate student or a parent planning to borrow for the first time under these new rules, look up the current caps before you count on a specific loan amount to cover school costs. And if any of this, student loans or otherwise, has your broader debt feeling unmanageable, a free nonprofit credit counselor can help you look at the whole picture, not just one loan in isolation. That's a legitimate, no-cost resource, and using it isn't a sign that something's gone wrong. It's just a smart move.
None of this is financial or legal advice tailored to you. It's the landscape, explained clearly, so you can go make the actual decision with real information instead of a vague sense of dread. If this helped the last few weeks of student loan news make a little more sense, consider following.
Every week, we take one confusing piece of the American debt system and lay it out exactly like this. Calmly, clearly, no scare tactics. For anything specific to your own loans, studentaid.gov is the official source, and it's free. We'll see you in the next one.